going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So let's start with some baseball news. So there's some drama in the Bronx with the New York Yankees. So Yankees general manager, by the way, I don't know how he still has a job. I don't understand. The man might be the most overrated executive in baseball. Maybe in sports. Like, good God, he has done nothing. So he made some comments about Giancarlo Stanton. Of course, the very high-priced star who has struggled to stay healthy over the last few years, really his whole tenure there, and had a really tough year last year, hitting just 191 on the season. And, he's been fired up throughout the offseason. He basically came out and said, like, people criticize him, for not being good enough. He said, I think we're pretty damn effing good or something like that. On one hand, I was like, all right, at least he's finally showing some emotion, but on the other hand, it's like, dude, you've not done a good job there. I mean, you've been given the richest team in baseball. You've had so many opportunities to win multiple World Series, and you can't get out of the second round of the playoffs. And last year, you didn't even make the playoffs. This is what he said about Stanton. We've got to get Stanton up and running again. He's injury prone. We all have lived and known that, but he's never not hit when he's playing it, and this year's the first time that's happened. We try to limit the time he's down, but I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you he's gonna play every game next year, because he's not. He's going to wind up getting hurt again, more likely than not, because it seems to be part of his game. But I know that when he's right and healthy, other than this past year, the guy's a great hitter and has been for a while. So he basically said, the main part of that quote was, he's going to get hurt because that's just what he does. And his agents didn't take too kindly to that. His agent responded, he was asked by Ken Rosenthal, Joe Wolf, I believe his name is. His agent responded, I read the context of the entire interview. Then he said, I think it's a good reminder for all free agents considering signing in New York, both foreign and domestic, that to play for this team, you've got to be made of Teflon, both mentally and physically, because you can never let your guard down, even in the offseason. So this is my take on it. Was Brian Cashman correct? Yes. He was correct. Absolutely correct. Stanton is as injury prone as it gets in this sport. He cannot stay healthy. He is extremely injury prone. But you don't go out and say that. It's one thing if behind closed doors you have a meeting with him and tell him, look, dude, not only did you last year hit below the Mendoza line, but you weren't on the field enough. You have not been on the field enough throughout your tenure here. You need to do a better job of being on the field here, or whatever. We're gonna look to move off you, or we're gonna bench you, or whatever the context. You don't go out and say that. It was one of those, you're not wrong, we didn't have to go there, like the Stephen A. quote kind of thing. You don't say that. You don't tell the media that. You don't put that out there. Behind closed doors, you can say that. That's something that should have stayed behind closed doors, and didn't. And I don't blame his agent for coming out and saying that. Also, Joe Wolf, I believe, Joe Wolf is his name. His agent, that is also the agent for Yoshina Yamamoto, the Japanese sensation starting pitcher that the Yankees are interested in. Apparently, the top two teams are the Yankees and the Mets. So, based off, considering he's his agent, and he said, basically said, he basically said, if you're a free agent, you're looking to sign up the Yankees, you can't let your guard down because because Brian Cashman at any time could come after you and take a shot at you. He said both foreign and domestic. Like you said, both got more traditional free agents who coming from a number one MLB team, or someone coming from overseas from another country. Like you got like Yamamoto. Of course, you have a ton of guys come from overseas now, especially from Japan. Ohtani, Kawhi sang with the Mets last year. Just go down the list. So now the Yankees' chances of signing Yamamoto probably are gone, and Cashman has himself to blame. The dude is a clown. He's not a very good general manager. Look at what team that he's built. It's not very good. No, he's won. He's been there. He's been with the Yankees since the late '90s. He was an assistant GM during like that whole run when they won like 5 World Series from the late '90s into the early 2000s. I think late in that tenure he got promoted to GM. So the one or two that times they won the World Series with him as GM, the team was already put together. Even the team in 2009, he didn't really build. He didn't really build that team. And since then, he has not made it further than the ALCS. With this team, it's not all on him. It's some of it's on Aaron Boone, who's not a good enough manager. He's been given, year after year, he's been given World Series contender after World Series contender, hasn't even gotten to the World Series. I'll put it to you this way. Joe Girardi, in his last year of the Yankees in 2017, took a team that had missed the playoffs like 2 or 3 years in a row, that was very young, expected to not, do a whole lot, and took them to Game 7 of the LCS in 2017. And also, he lost to Houston, who was cheating. So if Houston wasn't cheating, Yankees may have been in the World Series. Then Aaron Boone takes over, and they have not been back. The first they've gotten is Game 6 of the LCS. So it's not on him. Guys have underperformed, obviously. Stanton has underperformed, but also like Cashman, like the Stanton trade. Why take on this guy's whole contract? When trades like that, we got guy of that big of a contract. You either take on his full contract. I guess they didn't give up a lot. I get it, but it's either you take on the guy's full contract, but you ask for you either take on you also bring in another good young player and you don't give up that many prospects, or you make him eat money, but you don't take on you don't get another piece and you give up more. What he probably should have done, he probably should have said, I'm not taking on his full contract. Yes, at the time he was coming up a 59 homer season and was MVP of National League in in 2017 with Miami. Most of the guy had a history of injuries. They kind of ramped up once he got to the Bronx, but he had a history of injuries throughout his career, even in Miami. Maybe not that season, but throughout his career. He should have realized that and be like, all right, this guy's got what? He signed a 13-year contract, with Miami originally. Who's got what? 7, 8, 9, 10 years left on his deal at $25 million a year until well into his late 30s, maybe even into his 40s. At some point, his contract was going to be an albatross. And with the injury, he had to realize, like, I'm not taking on his full deal. He should have, said to Miami, you got to take on a little bit of money, give up a little bit more, give up some, higher quality prospects, but, don't take on his full contract. Like, but Donaldson trade, like, makes no sense. I don't get it. He gave up a Gold Glove caliber third baseman who can play all over the field as well, who can also hit in Gio Urshela. Right, he gave away to Gary Sanders, who's horrible. He struck out too much, lazy on the base paths, awful defender behind the plate. Didn't really work out. Was slightly better in Minnesota. I mean, he hit a little more. He hit a little more last year in San Diego. After he kind of bounced around. But still, his defense was god-awful. Also, he had a 3-game stint with the Mets when they had all those injuries to their catchers. But, like, to take on Donaldson, who was already declining, had that big contract, obviously had locker room problems, clubhouse problems, wherever he has been. Oh, yeah, and they got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who's a good shortstop, who can play, different positions, an okay hitter. Okay, you got him. But you could have, there's been so many shortstops that you could have signed over the last bunch of years, who are all-stars. Corey Seager, Dansby Swanson, so many. Marcus Semien can play shortstop. So many that they passed on. Trey Turner. And then they threw in Ben Rortvedt, who's awful. First, like a freaking death catcher, a minor league catcher. That point, you might as well have kept Gary Sanchez. Like, I don't get it. This guy. Not sure how he steals a job. The managers of the year for this past season were named last night. For the National League, it was Skip Schumacher. He won He won by like 19 or 20 votes over Craig Counsell, who of course was in Milwaukee last year. Now he's with the Cubs. Of course, he shockingly looked like he was going to the Mets or he's going back to Milwaukee with his contract expired. Then he decided to shockingly go to the Cubs. And but Skip Schumacher wins. Definitely the right choice. In his first year as a manager in the big leagues, he took the Miami Marlins, who have been horrible for a long time, to the playoffs in his first year. I want to say Miami building something, but the GM that built that squad last year was just fired. They brought in the president of baseball from Tampa, or the GM from Tampa, to be the president of baseball operations now. We'll see how that works out, but Skip Schumacher did a very good job. He had been a top managerial candidate for several years leading up to getting the job last year. He was the next player. He was in St. Louis. I may have been on the World Series team in St. Louis in the David Freese series. Also played in San Diego. He was an assistant coach for a while, a bunch of places, including San Diego. He was definitely the right choice, and he did a good job out here, taking a team that had been bad for a while and was not expected to do very well last year to the playoffs. In the American League, it was Brandon Hyde took the Orioles, who have been god awful for several years, and they had the best record in the American League. Unfortunately, you lose in the first round. You lose in the ALDS to the Texas Rangers. You get swept, but still the Orioles went from a team that prior to 2 years ago, where they were just above 500. They were historically bad for like 3 or 4 years in a row. They had the best record in the American League. They got so much young talent on my team. They're going to be good for a very long time. 101 wins. Absolutely shocked the world. I thought there was a case for Bruce Bochy, who obviously did, but because it's a regular season award, I do get it. If it was I really think all these awards for every season should include the playoffs. I don't know why they don't. That's another story for another day. If they include the playoffs, it would have probably been Bruce Bochy, since Bruce Bochy swept Brandon Hyde in the first round, and it's the job he did. Getting this team back on track after they struggled down the stretch. You lose the division. The job he did in the playoffs, and just overall was taking this team that had been bad for a while, and guiding them back to the playoffs, and of course winning a World Series. He's won. If you ask me, he's the best manager in baseball. He's now won his 4th World Series. He's one of 2 different teams. After he won 3 in San Francisco. Then he wins 1 in Texas. He had a strong tenure for a while in San Diego before he went to San Francisco. He's definitely a Hall of Fame manager. But Brandon Hyde did a phenomenal job. So he's a very good manager. He wins American League Manager of the Year. Emily Free, he's underway. Teams can sign guys whenever they want. Once the winter meetings occur, and probably at this point, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, things will really start to ramp up. All 7 players who got qualifying offer declined it. Qualifying offer is a 1-year fully guaranteed deal. It's worth $20.3 million. The players who received it were Ohtani. Ohtani's not taking a 1-year, $20 million deal. He said he's open to a short-term deal with like a really high annual average salary. But that'll probably be like a 2 or 3 year deal. Even if it is a 1-year deal, he ain't taking 20 to be like $60 million. Aaron Nola makes sense. He can probably get a long-term deal for probably more than 20 a year. Cody Bellinger can probably get a longer-term deal for more than 20 a year. Josh Hader, he might become the highest paid reliever ever. Edwin Diaz last year, when we signed with the Mets for 5 years, 102. Josh Hader might break that, at least in the annual average value. Sonny Gray can definitely get more than 20 a year, and he can get more than the year probably. And Matt Chapman, who will probably get a very big deal as well. So that makes sense. I'm hearing a lot of people within the industry expect to take in the race to trade Tyler Glass now. Of course, he came off Tommy John last year and pitched very well at ERA 3.5. Now, Glasnow was so good on a talent perspective. He's probably one of the 10 best pitchers in baseball, but he's never healthy. You can maybe count him for 20 starts. Like, he's never healthy. It's so frustrating. That's what we got for MLB. I'm hearing that Zach Levine could be traded. Apparently, he's on the trade block. Teams have called the Bulls about trying to trade for Zach Levine. Of course, was on the block this offseason. And both sides are willing to make a move. I'm hearing the Bulls might get blown up, which I kind of agree with. Look, this team a couple of years ago, when they brought in DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and Alex Caruso and all these guys to pair up with Zach Levine, I thought this team is definitely a playoff team. Going to be good for a long time. Outside of that one first half of that one season 2 years ago where they were, competing for first in the East, they ended up falling that year out to sixth with injuries, and then last couple of years they've been a play-in exit. You know, this team is there's no true number one scorer on that team. If you ask me, Levine, he's a guy. If he's as a number one, he might give you 26 points a game and shoot 40% from three. But your team is not gonna. You're not gonna win that many games with Zach Levine as your number one option. He's a two. Like if you put him in like Miami or something as a two, and even if he's only giving you 22 a game, maybe. But that team, like if you put him on Miami, Miami is automatically at worst the third best team in the Eastern Conference. And DeMar DeRozan, I think a great number two option, but not a great number one, at least not in this point in his career. He also cannot defend for his life. Great scorer. He also isn't a great 3-point shooter. And like they have some other guys I like. I like Vucevic. Underrated big man. I like Caruso. Another underrated player. Great defender. Can shoot a little bit. Can score a bit. He kind of does it all. Obviously, he won a championship a couple years ago in the bubble. You all know how I feel about that bubble championship, but he does have a ring. And even like you got a young guy in Sunu, who I really like. I loved him coming out of Illinois. I thought he was slept on in the draft, was taken very late in that draft, and he's been very good when he's gotten playing time. I would like to see him get some more time. Obviously, not having Lonzo Ball the last couple of years with all his injuries has not helped. A young point guard with some potential. Guy was starting to come into his own. His 3-point shot was starting to go down. He had become a really good defender. Was still really young, and then of course, he's had all of these knee problems, or if it's his knee or his back. I think it's his knee. But this team is not well put together. There's not a true number one option on this team. I think there's some turmoil. Apparently last year they were saying there was some turmoil between like Levine and DeRozan or something. I don't think that locker room is totally all together. I don't think there's a ton of chemistry on my team. Billy Donovan's a glorified college coach. I don't think he's a great NBA coach. Karnisovas, who I liked when they brought him in to be to run the basketball operations there. He comes over after being the GM in Denver. Has not done a very good job. They need to blow this whole thing up. If I had to guess, I could see Levine going at the deadline. Definitely in the offseason. I think DeRozan goes in the offseason. I think Caruso definitely goes at the deadline. And Vucevic will most likely also go at the deadline. If not, definitely by next year won't be on the team. So I think this team of their four main trade pieces are probably Zach Levine, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and Alex Caruso. I think at least two of those guys get moved at the deadline, and then the other two get moved in the offseason. If I had to guess. All right, let's get to the highlight of my show today. It's Wednesday, so it is game picks day for college football and for NFL. Let's start with college football. College football playoff ratings came out last night. Georgia retains the top spot ahead of Ohio State, who's ranked second. Third is Michigan. Fourth is Florida State, followed by Washington, Oregon at 5 and 6. Texas at 7, Alabama 8. Missouri is ranked 9th in the country now, and then Louisville at 10. Missouri and Louisville in the top 10 in football. Did not expect to see that this year. But to college football, number 3 Michigan against Maryland. Michigan should roll. Maryland's been respectable this year. Tolia Tagovailoa, which is Tua from the Dolphins' brother, who played very well last year. He's been pretty good this year. But Michigan, I know they don't have Jim Harbaugh. I don't think that's going to matter much. They're just going to overmatch Maryland. Michigan definitely wins. Chattanooga against number 8 Alabama. Alabama by a lot of points. Chattanooga's actually been respectable. They're actually 7-3, but they're playing in God knows what conference. So I'll take Alabama by a lot. Number 10 Louisville against Miami. I'm going to take Louisville. Miami's actually favored by a half point, but just I don't know what Mario Cristobal is doing over there. I don't trust him with my life. I'm taking Louisville, who's been really good this year. They're in the top 10 right now. Rutgers against number 12 Penn State. Penn State will bounce back. Kudos to Rutgers. Greg Schiano's done a great job turning that program around. They're bowl eligible for the first time in like over 10 years. Penn State just is a much better team. Obviously they just fired their offensive coordinator, so I'll take Penn State. UL Monroe against number 13 Ole Miss. Ole Miss is going to destroy them. UL Monroe is 2-8. They suck. Ole Miss is actually a good team. I will take Ole Miss. Number 14, Oklahoma against BYU. Oklahoma should grow on that one. Dylan Gabriel's played very well this year, thrown for just over 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Oklahoma's been a fraud this year. Haven't outside of Texas didn't play anybody, and then of course they lost to Kansas, which ended their conference for playoff hopes. BYU is not that good. Taking Oklahoma. Number 24, Tulane against Florida Atlantic. I'm taking Tulane, who's ranked this year at 24th. Florida Atlantic's not very good. Taking Tulane. Number 22, Utah against number 17, Arizona. First of all, kudos to Arizona for being ranked this year, help being in the top 20. I'm going to take Utah. They haven't had their best year. They're usually very solid every year. They're usually like a 2-loss team. They're usually like in the top 15, 20. They're at 22 right now. They have 3 losses this year, but I'm going to take Utah. I think they sneak past Arizona. Number 1, Georgia against number 18, Tennessee. I'm going to take Georgia. Tennessee's pretty good this year. And that's because they were last year. Of course, you lose Hendon Hooker, your star quarterback, your star receiver, Jalen Hyatt, and some others. In Georgia, I don't think anybody beats them. I know, Connor Beck isn't anything special. He's known for 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. But still, that defense is still great. I don't think anybody beats them. I'm taking Georgia. And they haven't lost in almost 3 years. Until someone does it, I don't believe it. Illinois is number 16, Iowa. I'm going to take Iowa. Of course, their offensive coordinator, Brian Ferentz, they announced they're not going to bring him back. Of course, they had in this contract, if your offense needs to average, 25 points a game, or they're going to... The deal was, if he averages whatever it was, 25 points a game, or 21, I think it was 25, he would automatically get an extension, but if they don't, they would look at their other options. So basically, they would fire him, and they announced a few weeks ago he's not coming back. But Iowa should win. Illinois is not very good. Wake Forest against number 19, Notre Dame. I'm taking the Fighting Irish, who are frauds, like they are every year. Sam Hartman's okay. He's throwing for a little over 2,200 yards, 18 touchdowns, like 7 interceptions, but Wake Forest sucks, so I'll take Notre Dame. Number 20, North Carolina against Clemson. It's a tough one. Clemson, their reign is definitely over. They're at 6-4 this year. UNC's been struggling. Drake May, I'm on the fence on how good he is. I'll take UNC reluctantly. Clemson's favored by almost a touchdown this one. UNC, they've had 2 really bad losses to Virginia, who's god awful, and then like a week or two later they lost to somebody else who was really bad. And Clemson, they've obviously had the good this year. Week 1, they got destroyed by freaking Duke. But they've surprisingly beaten some teams they probably shouldn't have. But I'll take UNC. Clemson isn't very good. I'll take UNC. Minnesota against number 2 Ohio State. Ohio State should destroy them. Minnesota is god awful. Well, not awful, but in the Big Ten, 5-5. That's not cutting it. Ohio State by a lot. Number 6, Oregon against Arizona State. I'm taking Oregon. Arizona State is absolutely garbage. I love Bo Nix. He's been phenomenal. For over 3,100 yards, 29 touchdowns against 2 interceptions. He's a Heisman candidate. Oregon's really good. They got a shot of sneaking into the continental playoff. I'm taking the Oregon Ducks. Number 23, Oklahoma State against Houston. Taking OK State. They've been solid. Houston's not that good. Got North Alabama against number 4, Florida State. I don't know why this is even a game. That's just cruel. Florida State by a lot of points. Number 21, Kansas State against number 25, Kansas. Of course, a rivalry game, both being from Kansas. I'm going to take K-State. Both teams are good. I think Lance Leipold, the coach from Kansas, he's done a really good job there, and I could see him by next year taking, he could be a guy to make a jump to a bigger name school. But K-State is a pretty solid team. I think there's a little better than Kansas, so I think they overpower them. I'll take K-State in that one. This might be the game of the week right now. Number 5, Washington is number 11, Oregon State. I'm taking Washington. I don't know why Oregon State is favored by 2.5 in this game. That makes no sense. Washington is phenomenal. In fact, I think they should be the 4th team in the conference over Florida State. I felt that for about 3 weeks. Michael Penix is my highest one right now. He's throwing for over 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. I think he's one of the top quarterbacks in this class. I like him a lot. Oregon State's good, but I like Washington better. Washington should win that one. That should be a great game. Florida against number 9 Missouri. I'm taking Missouri. It's been a fall from grace for the Florida Gators program. They're at 5-5. Taking Missouri. Number 7 Texas against Iowa State. I'm taking Texas. You know, they're very good. You know, they won't make the country for the playoff, but I'm gonna take Texas. Well, I'm hearing Quinn Ewers most likely coming back to Texas next year, so that'll be interesting, especially with Arch Manning are already there. And then Georgia State against LSU. Never even heard Georgia State. LSU should roll in that one. LSU's ranked 15th in the country right now. All right, so now let's go to the NFL. So Thursday Night Football tomorrow night will be Bengals Ravens. Really good matchup. Big AFC North game. The AFC North is absolutely loaded. Bengals were in last place in the division. They're at 5-4. I'm just gonna take the Bengals on this one. Ravens have played great, but still not sold. Lamar, to me, hasn't played great this year, to be honest. You know, the defense overall has played well. But, you know, coming off the collapse of Cleveland last week, I don't know. Something about them, I'm not sold on them. Cincinnati looks healthy. I can see them getting T. Higgins back this week. He didn't play last week either. So I'll take the Bengals in a small upset. To the 1 o'clock slate, Steelers Browns. Another big AFC North matchup. I'm gonna take the Browns in this one. Actually, I'm double taking right now because there was some breaking news earlier today. Deshaun Watson is having surgery to repair a broken bone in his throwing shoulder. He is out for the season. That contract is looking like a disaster. They gave up 3 first-round picks, gave him like a $230 million fully guaranteed deal. He's been horrible. Hasn't been able to stay on the field. Absolute train wreck on and off the field. Rookie Dorian Thompson-Robins. What's his name? Dorian Thompson Beckham is expected to start, barring anything unforeseen. Guy who's a star in preseason. He started the game or two earlier in the year. Didn't look great, so then of course they ended up going to PJ Walker. But I'm actually gonna take Pittsburgh just because that Browns defense is ferocious, is really good, and the Steelers offense is not very good. But they've looked a little better, to their credit. Not to defend Matt Cannon and that offense, but you know, prior to last week, Mike Tomlin said that he named Jalen Warren the starting back finally, and their run game's been a lot better these last few weeks with Jalen Warren taking on a lead role and Najee Harris kind of taking a back seat. You know, it's helped both of them. You know, they should get Pat Freiermuth back, their tight end, which will help. So it should definitely be a low-scoring game. I think the Steelers sneak by. How the Steelers will end up being 7-3, I don't know. They've honestly gotten kind of lucky. And their starting quarterback Kenny Pickett, he's on for just over 1,600 yards with 6 touchdowns and 4 picks in 9 games. Dude, has 6 touchdowns in 9 games, and they're 6-3. That's insane. Bears, Lions roll. I know Justin Fields is expected to come back this week after missing the last 3 games with the thumb, but the Lions, they're really good. Jared Goff is playing well. You know, they're running the ball well with David Montgomery. They're deep. They've played well defensively. Outside the one stinker against the Ravens, they've been phenomenal this year. They're at 7-2. Tied for the second best record in football. They're really good. Bears suck. I'm taking the Lions. They're favored by 9. They should cover. I think they cover that problem. Chargers, Packers. I'm taking the Chargers. You know, Packers are so bad. Jordan Love sucks. Their defense is not very good. Chargers defense isn't either, but Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are going to eat Jordan Love alive. They won't be able to stop the Chargers offense. I'm taking the Chargers. Raiders and Dolphins. The Raiders have looked reborn with interim coach Antonio Pierce going up against Miami. I'm taking Miami now. You know, they're favored by 12. I think you at plus 12 the Raiders, you could probably get away with that. I don't know if it'll be that lopsided, but still, I think the Raiders are going to be able to stop that Dolphins offense. I'm taking the Dolphins in that one. Dolphins can beat teams that aren't that good. When they play a good team, they forget how to play football. But against mediocre to bad teams, they're money. So I'll take the Miami Dolphins. Giants, Commanders. I'm taking the Commanders. Another Giants won a few weeks ago, but this Giants team, they are awful. Tommy DeVito is their starting quarterback. He's like a 7th round rookie, and if God knows where, he's terrible. Their offensive line is atrocious. They might have the worst offense in football. Commanders aren't great either, but still, like they still have Jonathan Allen, De'Aaron Payne up the middle. They're gonna still be able to get pressure on Tommy DeVito. I think he'll make some mistakes. Now all of a sudden, Brian Daboll has been being criticized. You see him very frustrated on the sidelines. He's very frustrated with his players. You know, he's always, eviscerating them. He doesn't really seem to really ever talk to them. I'm hearing rumblings that the players don't really like him, and there's tension there. You know, there's rumors that he might actually get fired, which I wouldn't agree with, but that's something I'll talk about at a later time. But the Giants, they might be the worst team in football. I'm taking the Commanders. Cowboys, Panthers, Dallas should win easily. Carolina sucks. Bryce Young is struggling. Can't really run the ball. They can't stop the pass. Dak has been playing well because he's not been playing that great teams. So that's why. But Dallas should roll it out. They fair by 10.5, and they cover. Titans, Jaguars. I'm taking the Jags. Jags have been a little inconsistent this year. Trevor Lawrence has not taken the jump that we've thought. He's thrown for a little over 2,100 yards, only 9 touchdowns in 9 games this year. He really hasn't had a great year. But Titans aren't very good. Will Levis, his first game he played well against Atlanta. Last 2 games hasn't looked great. Also, you don't really know what he is yet. I've been very low on him since the start. But I'm taking Jacksonville to overpower Tennessee in that one. Cardinals, Texans, definitely taking Houston. CJ Stroud is an MVP candidate. He's a dog. I'm not sure like a Damian Pierce back, but even if they don't, Donta Foreman has played well in his place. Arizona sucks. I'm taking Houston. 405. Bucks and 49ers. I'm taking the 49ers. I also think the Bucks defense is kind of underrated. They are pretty good, but their offense is terrible. They cannot run the football. Baker Mayfield sucks. That 49ers is just scary. Avengers-like D-line is going to get a lot of pressure on Baker. He's going to make mistakes. Taking the Niners. They're favored by 11.5. I can see the Bucks keeping it maybe within 10, but honestly, the Niners might cover. 425 Jets Bills. Oh boy. All right, so you got the Jets, whose offense has not scored a touchdown in 2 games. Playing the Bills, who are also struggling. They got 2 struggling AFC East teams. This is a big game. She's a 4-5. It kind of felt like their season slipped through their fingers. Getting blown out by the Chargers on Monday Night Football. And then losing to the freaking Raiders with 2 weeks removed from firing their coach and their O-corner and their GM with a 4th round rookie who just looks like Derek Carr with a really weird mustache and kind of a quarterback. Losing to them. They've, over the last 2 games, they have 6 field goals and no touchdowns. But I'm going to take the Jets. I'm going to be a bit of a homer. I try not to be. But I'm going to be a bit of a homer this time and take the Jets. But if the Jets lose, if the Jets lose this game, unless they play like some really bad team, like the Commanders or something, they get. This might be the last time I pick the Jets to win if they lose this game. I need the offense to do something. Okay, look, Zach Wilson's not very good. He's not. He's a bust. He's not good. He's been a little better this year. He's a okay backup. Maybe he won't win you the game, and he may be the reason you lose. But if he's not the reason you lose, you might, if you have the right piece around you, could sneak by. Their offensive line is terrible. So many injuries, I know. And the play calling's horrible. What they need to realize is Aaron Rodgers might somehow, some way, might be coming back in about 4 to 6 weeks. I'm hearing mid-December. I heard if the Jets are in contention for that Christmas game against Washington, that's the target date possibly. So right now, the last team in, I believe, is Houston. So that means the Jets are what, like a half game out. So they're still within striking distance of a playoff spot. So it's still possible. I don't like their chances. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I would not. I would bet that I would, put money down that they would not make the playoffs. But it's still possible. Bills are struggling. Josh Allen has really struggled against the Jets the last couple of years. Zach Wilson has actually played serviceable against the Bills as well. I'm taking the Jets. They seem to have the Bills' number. If you lose this game, you're at 4. So I think the season might be over. You think the last team right now is Houston, who's most likely going to be Arizona. Put them at 6-4. So the Jets will be 2 games out with, 7 games to go? Look at their schedule. They still got to play Miami twice. I know New England sucked, but that season finale, they haven't beaten New England in 8 years. Washington is a winnable game, but you think, all right, if you think they're losing to Miami twice, that gives them they're at best 9-8, and that's it. They can figure out how to beat New England, even as bad as they are. Even Washington, it's gonna be tough. So they have to win this game. So I'm gonna take the Jets. But if they lose, I don't know if I'll be able to take them the rest of the year in any game. And if they do lose, I'm gonna be ranting. Just a warning. Also at 425, we have Seahawks and Rams. I'm taking the Seahawks. Rams are not very good. I know Stafford's coming back, but he's pretty much washed. Seattle's a weird team. The offense has not been as good as I thought. Geno Smith has struggled a little bit this year, but Rams are not very good. I'm taking Seattle. Sunday Night Football, Vikings, Broncos. So Broncos all of a sudden have won 3 in a row, and all of a sudden they're back in contention. And Russell Wilson's played a lot better. He's going for over 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, 4 picks. So he's played a lot better. He's been much more accurate. His deep ball is gone. He does not have the same arm he once did. But he's been a lot better. He's been much more precise. Not turning the ball over. He has been much better. He's been a serviceable starting quarterback this year. I'm taking the Vikings. They're playing well. Josh Dobbs, what a story. He's been playing really well. Look, Sean Payton's not a good coach. I'm sorry. You won't get me to change my mind about that. And then, so I'm taking the Vikings in this one, who will somehow be 7-4. They've gotten very lucky. They have a very easy schedule outside of the 49ers. And Monday Night Football, Eagles, Chiefs. Could be a game of the year, a Super Bowl rematch from last year. I'm taking the Chiefs. Look, the Eagles obviously have a phenomenal offense. And that front 7 is insanely good, best in football. But their secondary isn't great. Their secondary has struggled this year. They're going to have a lot of trouble against the Chiefs. Same thing that happened in the Super Bowl. They got torched by Mahomes in that Super Bowl by Mahomes and company. I think it happens again. In a high score, I'll take it in a shootout. I think the Chiefs sneak by. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. I'm going home tomorrow for break. I do plan to do something over break because I'm actually going to be home for 11 days. I will not go 11 days without not doing this. Probably you won't see me till at least Monday. But I'm going to try to do something. It might be a Zoom thing. It's going to be something virtual. I might try to get creative. Maybe do something kind of creative, but I will do something over the next week and a half. I'm going to take tomorrow and Friday off, the weekend off as normal. If the Jets lose, Monday afternoon, I'm ranting. So I'll probably do something Monday, hopefully Tuesday. Then probably that's about it. Because then Wednesday through Friday, with Thanksgiving and everything, I won't be doing anything. Then the weekend, and then that Monday, the 27th, I'll be back here, hoping to do something that day. If not, definitely Tuesday, the 28th. But so plan on look for me for something Monday. It's gonna look a little different, so I won't have the studio, but something. It might be a Zoom, might be something a little more creative. We will see. But until next time, so long and have a great day.